This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight I'm going over UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Hill, giving you my thoughts and predictions on the whole card. This is coming out a bit late. I've been having technical issues with my internet and my computer and all this bullshit. So I'm going to legitimately this time try to go through these as quick as possible so I can get it out as soon as possible. I know I always bitch about like I'm going to talk about these real quick, and I spend 20 minutes talking about a terrible woman's fight, so I'll try to restrain myself, but let's get started. First fight of the night. We've got Takashi Sato versus Themba Grimbo. 10 Takashi Sato versus the answer Themba Grimbo. I don't like that he took Frankie Edgar's nickname, but it is what it is. When it comes down to this fight, it really is a pick'em. It is minus 110, minus 110. And the reason for it is that Takashi Sato's lost 3 in a row, and Themba is not really all that good. But what I will say about him is that he's good at relentlessly going for takedowns, even though he's not the best grappler. And I can respect that. I can respect the fact that he wants to fight. He wants to not go back to the fields of Africa. I think he said that about this fight. He said that about his last fight. And he's a decent enough grappler to, I think, really push a good pace, keep it on the feet just enough to avoid any big shots, and then just relentlessly go for takedowns and win the positional moments. And that's really what it comes down to. I think the minus 110 is worth it for Themba. If he becomes a dog, at least even money, I might take a shot on him. But I really do think that he's going to win this one by a decision. Uh, really not going to be a fun fight. Like Sato's not blown out of the water here. I think he's going to have very good moments on the feet. I think he's going to have good moments even grappling. It's just that the positional and visual moments will go to Themba, as in like he shoots for a takedown, gets stuffed, he gets hit a little bit, he goes for another takedown, 2 minutes and a half left in the round. He gets a bit of top control. He keeps going for relentless takedowns. They're not going to look pretty, and he's going to win that fight just like that. So I think he's going to win a pretty ugly fight, but he wins this one by decision. Next bout, Veronica. Oh, I always call her Veronica. I don't know why I read the name Victoria and I see Veronica. Victoria Leonardo versus Natalia Silva. I love Natalia Silva. I think she's going to win this fight in the first or second round via knockout. I'll go first round knockout. Leonardo, I went back and I'm like, is there a way she can win this fight? Because Silva's like, at this moment, it might say on the screen minus 550. She's minus 800. So she's nowhere near playable. You can't bet her. She looked great her last fight. I even wrote down, I have it highlighted here. The commentators were talking shit about her in her last fight where she was going for spinning back kicks against Teresa Belda. And I'm like, as I'm watching the fight, and this is how you know, at least how I know, I'm like, maybe I'm getting better at seeing what I'm looking at here. The first kick she threw, the spinning back kick, was to, oh shit, I'm doing it again. I'm going to spend 20 minutes on it. But she threw the spinning back kick specifically to exploit the terrible shooting of Belda. And I'm like, this girl's got something special. And then she timed it in the last round as the commentators like Bisping were like, oh, she's gonna have to go back and readjust. Like, no, motherfucker, she knew what she was doing. She did it and she landed it. That was her game plan. I give her props for that. She's good on the feet. She's fast. Too fast for Leonardo. She's going to be a little too slow. And by a little, I mean ridiculously too slow. And that's really her kryptonite. If you've looked past in her previous fights, faster, quicker strikers knock her out. Another slow striker like a certain Mandy Bohm. Heart, by the way, Mandy Bohm. I love her for making my dumb prediction come through because what's her face found a way to lose, and she found a fucking way to lose. Kim, I've got no quarrel with all that acting, whatnot. I just thought it was like, hey, you gave her the way out. You literally opened the door for her and say, hey, here's your victory. Take it. It'd be rude for her not to take it. Ridiculous. So yeah, I've got Silva by absolute destruction in the first round, first or second, really realistically. So if you get her at any good price at inside the distance, that's fine. I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to enjoy one of my favorite girls beat the shit out of a nobody. So moving on. Interesting fight. Chase Hooper versus Nick Fiore. Hooper is minus 120. Come back on Fiore is minus 105. With Fiore, the one thing that I've always, not necessarily always, because there's not a whole ton of info on him, but the one thing that I realized with his fight with Rezbecki was do not fade a guy if you don't know how tough he is. I keep bringing that up. Don't fade dudes' chins if you don't know how good they are. Comes out of the New England cartel. Striking's okay. Jiu-jitsu, can't tell. I don't know a damn dick about this guy other than he beat the legend Jay Ellis twice. Look up Jay Ellis. He's an absolute stud within his realm, if you know what I'm saying. a stud in the realm of being an absolute jobber. And this one's tough because Chase Hooper, I call him the super twink. He's going to be moving up to lightweight. He's doing some heavy lifting. And by heavy, I mean he lifts less than I do, and I'm not the biggest dude. I don't know what to make of him. Chase Hooper is such an interesting little twink that he gets the job done, and I'm worried that him moving up is he's gonna be a bit stronger. And I think on paper he's got a lot of ways to win this fight. Like he's fought the better competition. I know what he's capable of in the sense of on the ground. I know Nick Fiore is a black belt, I believe, in jiu-jitsu. I'm just not sold on him. I know you could say there's value on Nick Fiore just because we know he's technically the better striker, but a lot of people are technically better strikers than Chase Hooper. All that matters is that how good is his takedown defense. There's not a whole lot of information out on him. He could have a really good performance here. I'm not touching either guy. I'll go with Nick Fiore just for the hell of it, just because I think if he trains his boxing, he made his debut super short notice against Rozbecki. A lot of people thought he was going to get his ass beat. He did some good work on Rozbecki. I think if Nick Fiore has a very calm and intelligent fight, he can win this fight by a decision. So I'll go with Nick Fiore by decision. I don't blame anyone for taking Chase Hooper. He's a solid fighter. I'm not sure of him when he's fighting guys his own size now. You know, him being at featherweight, he had a big advantage on dudes, and his last fight, he looked horrendous. Like he looked really bad. He got just beat up. So I'll go with Nick Fiore. I think he can have a decent performance, just landing the heavier shots, avoiding the fight going to the ground. And because I'm not sure how good of a black belt he is, so I'll stay away from this one. I know that Chase Hooper's super tricky. He got what's his name, Clay Guida, with like a leg lock in Fury grappling. So he's solid, man. He's a tricky twink, tricky twink. Let's move on. Next bout, is it heavyweight? Heavyweight bout. Yep, we've got Ilir Latifi versus Rodrigo Nascimento. That head sledgehammer versus I don't know what his fucking nickname is, but with Latifi. You know, he was talking about retirement. He's going to be the smaller guy. He's plus 130 compared to the minus 155 of Nascimento. He's going to be the shorter guy, 5'10", compared to the 6'2". It's a tricky fight because I know Latifi can get things done. I know he's got the better wrestling. He's got heavier hands. Nascimento, he's not been overly impressive. Like he was getting his ass beat against Badeau, and he ended up knocking out Badeau because he exploited Badeau's weakness, which is he sucks. And then his last fight with Tanner Boser, he went to a split decision. Like he had good moments taking him down. I don't know if he's going to have the same type of wrestling and top control against Latifi, being that he's like the big beefy guy. And wait a minute, his name is Latifi, and he's beefy. So thick boy Latifi, boys. Yeah, I like Latifi in this spot for being the plus money. I don't know if I want to bet him. I know he's capable of getting the job done. Like at heavyweight, he's 40 years old compared to the 30. He's 10 years older than the guy, but heavyweight's a different beast. I'm just not certain about him. Like I know even his last fight, he won a fight with a staph infection. So I know he's capable of doing enough to win a fight. Rodrigo Nascimento's gas tank isn't the greatest. He should keep it on the feet, but even on the feet, I think if Latifi can exploit just the terrible boxing and terrible defense of Nascimento, just land an overhand right, he can hurt him. I'll have to go with the dog on this one. I'll go with Latifi. I'll say second round knockout. I'm not confident in any of these fights, but in this one in particular, being that it's at heavyweight with an older Latifi, I'll stay away from it. But let's move on. Next bout, we've got Orion Galaxy Kosi. I still like, you name your kid Orion and then you just happen to choose your nickname to be Galaxy. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Versus what's even worse, Giblert, the RGV bad boy Urbeana. Urbeana's plus 130. Come back on Kosi is minus 160. I know there's people talking about like, the better fighters isn't favored here. I don't know if Urbeana is technically the better fighter. Like on paper, yes, I've seen him fight. I know he can take your back. He's going to be the bigger guy. He's fought at 170 before. The last fight was at 185. I'm not sold on it. I do think there is value on the guy just because he is the better fighter. The issue with Kosi is that, yes, he's a he's pretty shit. Let's just be honest, right? He's not the best fighter in the division at 170. We've seen him have really rough spots. We've seen him not perform. We've seen him do the bare minimum against Blood Diamond. Got his ass beat by Phil Rowe. He's gonna have the wrestling advantage for sure. I know Urbeana's takedown defense isn't that great. I worry about him getting controlled. And it's like, picture this scenario. You've got money on Urbeana, which frankly, I might end up placing a bet on him. But this is what I'm worried about. I got Urbeana. He's clearly better on the feet, but he gets taken down. He's doing shit on the bottom, trying to go for triangles, trying to sweep, but he can't because Kosi's a decent enough grappler on top. The second round starts. Kosi won that fight, but you're thinking, Kosi's slowing down. Urbeana's going for it. Kosi takes him down again. He holds him down, does the bare minimum, and you're losing points on a guy who's the better fighter. The third round comes out. Kosi looks exhausted, but he gets another takedown. Urbeana gets back up, but he doesn't finish him, and he loses a very close 29-28. That's what I'm most worried about picking Urbeana. I'm going to take him to win. He should actually win this one by a submission. He takes the back very well, and being the bigger guy, he should look good. I am worried about his gas tank as well. Is he going to make the weight? I just cannot pick Kosi. He's minus 160. I can't do it. I think he can win. It's going to be a rough card. So I'll go with Urbeana by a second round submission. I do think, though, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people if Kosi literally does the bare minimum to win this fight. And Urbeana might have some really good position, or not position because he'll be on the bottom, but he'll get some pretty good moments on the bottom. I'm not interested. I'm probably going to be stupid enough to bet it. So let's move on. Next bout, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Vanessa Lil Monster Demopoulos. Lil Monster's a minus plus 225, 125. Come back on Karolina minus 150. I already have a bet on Vanessa Demopoulos. I forgot what I took her at. Actually, let's find out. Let me take out my phone. I got 1 unit on her because I think she can win this fight. Let's see. I got her at, plus 125. What a bitch. I thought I had her at like plus 160. A man can dream. When it comes down to this particular fight, she's training at a Fight Ready. Karolina, as much as I love Karolina, she's a step behind. Her last fight, arguably, I thought she lost. She had a moment in the third round where she dropped Gomez Juarez, but it wasn't a drop, it was a slip, and that's what won her the fight. That's why I hate judges sometimes. You have to know when things are slips and things are actually like things land. There's a person in the main event that we'll talk about when it came to an actual slip compared to an actual land. But when it comes to this fight, Vanessa Demopoulos, clearly, as of right now, Karolina wants to get the fight to the ground. She's, on paper, the better fighter. In the clinch, significantly much more impressive. I don't know how Karolina wins this fight, really. She's going to have to damage up Vanessa, but Vanessa's pretty durable. Like, even going back to her LFA fights, even fighting Lupi Godinez, she's getting her ass beat, but she finds a way to nearly finish the fight. She's got power in her hands, Demopoulos does. She's not afraid to swing and throw wild. I get a feeling she can actually get a knockout in this fight. Either get a knockout or get a knockdown that leads to a submission. I think all the upside is on Demopoulos. She's 3 years younger. She's fighting a much more appropriately sized woman. Last time she fought was Oliveira, Spider Girl. Taller girl, knocked her ass down. Karolina's 5'3", Demopoulos is 5'2". The reach advantage is clearly going to be for Karolina. If Karolina has a very disciplined striking match here, she can definitely win the fight, like clearly. But Vanessa's not a girl that's going to be like, oh, I'm getting punched. She's going to go for takedowns. She's going to do reckless shit because she's not afraid to take it to the ground. She can get a submission up really fucking quick. Karolina, when she has the grappling advantage, she does better. She's not going to have the grappling advantage here. I'll go with Demopoulos by a second round submission, possibly even a knockout. And I'm telling you, I think there might be a live bet here for Demopoulos knockout. Karolina's been cracked many times before. I just don't know how clean the knockout's going to be. Because if Vanessa does go for, say she drops her and goes for a guillotine, submission is there. But if she hits her clean, I do think she can knock out Carolina. I think Vanessa's power really comes from that lack of fear of getting taken down. She's just kind of reckless in that sense. So I'll go second round submission for Demopoulos. Hopefully she cashes me out and I have a good day. By the way, I had a pretty shitty last week. I broke even when it came to the UFC fights, but Bellator really like pounded my ass in, and not in a good way. Bellator really pounded me. Next bout, Maheshitty, aka Maheshitty, versus Vyacheslav Borishev, Slava Claus. Slava Claus minus 155 comeback on Maheshitty plus 130. I've got some notes here. Fuck, man. I wrote some jokes about the last fight, and I keep forgetting to do them just because I'm in a rush. But the joke was Vanessa Demopoulos, the best base for MMA is being a whore because she's a stripper. Anyways, back to reality here. Vyacheslav, I like Vyacheslav a lot in this fight. I think he gets a knockout. I think he gets it in the first 2 rounds. I'm going to say round number 2. The reason for it is that he made Mike Davis shoot for his life. And Mike Davis is a very good striker, good boxer. The way he was landing to the legs, the left hook to the body, the left hook to just everything about Vyacheslav is like, I need to win. He absolutely needs a win in this fight. Maheshitty, he's long, he's lanky. He uses teeps up the middle. He's decent enough. He's got a good right hand. I just do not think he's got anything for Vyacheslav. I don't think he can knock him out unless he gets, I don't want to say lucky, but if he catches Vyacheslav kind of slipping a bit, I think he can crack him, but it's a very low percentile. I think Borishev is just the much better striker. He's so absolutely clean. You can make the argument, and realistically, you can make the argument that he beat Mike Davis. I wouldn't say because I had money on Mike, but he really damaged Mike up really bad. He lost the first round by dominance, and every other round, he looked impressive. And I think that even in this fight, if say he does get hurt, Vyacheslav has been working his wrestling clearly, more so the get-up game. I think he's got a good chance here to get a takedown. So might even take a shot if you've got that on your bookie. Maybe go for Vyacheslav goes for a takedown. I think he's very likely to do so because why not? Why not take the path of least resistance, get him on top, pound him out? But if Vyacheslav does keep it on the feet, I think he eventually finds that knockout. I wrote down here, he's going to have a lot of real estate to land that left hook to the body because Maheshitty is mostly body, lots of legs. Also the leg kicks from Borishev. I don't know if I mentioned that. They're going to be there. I don't see how he loses. That's why I have a unit bet on Vyacheslav I think I got him at worse odds. I think I got him at minus 160. No, I got him at minus 150, so I got better odds. I think he gets the job done and hopefully cashes me out, so I'll go with second round knockout. Next bout, we've got Michael Johnson versus Diego Ferreira. I'll be very brief on this one. I'm going to go with Diego Ferreira second round submission. The reason for it is that Michael Johnson always has a very good first round. Looks like he's going to win the fight. Ends up getting submitted each and every time. Diego Ferreira, minus 150, come back on Menace Johnson, plus 120. Johnson should win this fight. I think he's on a career, quote-unquote, resurgence. His boxing's good, but the issue with him has always been that he chokes, literally and mentally. And I think Ferreira, he's on his way out. He's 38 years old. I just think he's got enough in the tank, being that he is the much better fighter on paper, to beat Michael Johnson. I think he gets his ass beat a little bit, takes Johnson down, submits him in the second round. It happens quite often. If you look back at Michael Johnson's career, he's beating the asses of these guys. Even that guy, he's in the top 10, top 15, Thiago Moises. He's beating Thiago Moises. Thiago takes him down, submits him with a heel hook. It's like Michael just can't help but tap out. And I like Michael. We all joke around Michael's going to be the one that dethrones the lightweight champ now that he's on a run. But realistically, I think if he doesn't knock out Ferreira, which he's got a good chance to knock him out, probably best to take the doesn't go the distance line. But I'll pick Ferreira on this one. I just think that I don't think there's much value in him at minus 150 for sure, because realistically, he's slowing down. He's only really got one method to win. I could be saying that, and then he pieces up Michael Johnson on the feet using his superior boxing, and not necessarily superior boxing, but boxing and leg kicks. But I just think the easiest path to resistance is a submission, and I've seen Michael Johnson tap out too many times. So I'll go with second round submission, Diego Ferreira. Next bout, I wanted, and I swear, man, I had plans for this video. I wanted to put in an insert of what the hell's his name? The guy who sings "Danger." I forget his name, but Andre Fiallo versus Joaquin Buckley is absolute danger. Buckley is minus 175. Comeback on Fiallo is plus 140. Buckley should win this fight. He's training out of Extreme Couture. He's getting better. I mean, he's got the volume, he's got the power, he's got the explosiveness, he's got the kicking game. I just don't like his defensive boxing. That's the biggest issue. And Fiallo's got very good boxing. His defense is also pretty crap. It's such a tough one. I don't think it's going to go the distance for damn sure. Fiallo's better on the feet technically, as we saw a more technical boxer like Chris Curtis was able to exploit Joaquin Buckley. And I love Buckley, but he wasn't doing much. He was throwing a lot, but he wasn't landing a lot. And Curtis just timed it and caught him perfectly. And I'm worried that that'll happen again here with Fiallo. Like, Buckley's going to be looking great, and then Fiallo times something perfectly just by kind of covering up and letting Buckley do too much and then finding that exploitation. So I'm going to go with Buckley by, it should be first round knockout realistically, because Buckley's dropping down to 170 where he really belongs. I don't know how he's going to look. His gas tank might suffer. He's looking pretty good right now after looking at his images on Instagram, but I just don't know. I don't know too much about him right now, how he's going to look at welterweight. If he looks fantastic at welterweight, his chin holds up, his cardio looks good, his output looks good, it's going to be great. We can get a rematch between him and Kevin Holland. That'd be awesome. But right now with Fiallo, it's kind of hard to just say that he's a shot fighter, that his chin is shit. I do think his chin is a little suspect. He didn't get put out completely by Muslim Salikov. I worry fading the guy just because he got knocked out twice and then he knocks out Buckley. And I think it's fully possible. That's why I'm staying away from it. I do think it doesn't go the distance. There might be I might even sprinkle a little bit of money on knockout for Andre Fiallo. I'll just say that. But let's move on. We've got Emily Ducote versus Lupita Godinez. Another particular interesting fight where both fighters didn't look all that great. One got the win in Godinez, one got the loss in Ducote. Ducote didn't fight so great against Angela Hill. Never got the ball rolling. I think she's capable of doing much better than that. I think she didn't show her true potential, but she is a bit on the low output side. Godinez, I'll take her by decision, primarily because I do think she's been having poor performances as of late because of the level of competition that she's fighting. She fought the co-main event in Angela Hill. Didn't look great, but she lost that one. And then she arguably lost Cynthia Calvillo, but she's fighting better competition technically. And I don't want to make too many excuses for Godinez because she can come out here and look like absolute dog shit, but I doubt it. I just think she's really tough. Once she uses her wrestling and mixes things up well, she should have a lot more success. Like, go back to that Carnelosi performance where she just dominated her. Ducote's good on the ground. She's good on the feet, but they're equally sized, 5'2", 5'2". And I think Godinez is just a better fighter when she's not fighting taller, lankier girls where she has trouble. And that's the biggest thing with Godinez. Like, she's a scrappy girl and she's willing to fight anybody. And I just think those tall, lanky girls give her the most issue. And in this particular case, I don't think Ducote's grappling is going to be that impressive enough to like present too much of a threat for Godinez to not go for takedowns. If she, say for example, if you have her on a parlay, Herb Dean, and she doesn't go for takedowns, that's your own fucking fault. Do not put her on your parlays anymore. So I'm going to go with Godinez's decision. If she comes out here and looks spectacular, I will reassess her career. Same thing with Ducote. Like, I do think she's capable of more, because her last fight, she just looked like frozen. And granted, it was a lot because of Angela Hill throwing a lot of volume. And sometimes that does freeze you up, especially when you're, in the UFC. But realistically, she's 12-7. So how many is that? 19 have tried, 7 have succeeded. So, and in Godinez's case, you can make a lot of arguments that she might be undefeated. Like, her UFC loss was against Luana Carolina, where you could argue that she won, but again, she fought on super short notice, whatever. Let's move on. Edmund Shabazian versus Anthony Hernandez co-main event. Golden Boy versus Fluffy, minus 310 for Hernandez. Come back on Shabazian plus 245. And this one, I've heard a lot of rumblings about Shabazian being undervalued, or just why is he such a huge dog? Because Fluffy's not the guy. I will tell you why. And I'll tell you why I'm going to go with Fluffy. Second, let's go with third round submission. The reason for it is I know that Shabazian is training out of Extreme Couture. And what did I write down? I wrote down something decent here. Did Stickland fuck the pussy out of him? Perhaps. He looked a lot better in his last fight against Dalcha, but it wasn't like leaps and bounds better. He just fought a guy who used to train at Extreme, and Extreme knows how to beat the guy, realistically. His takedown defense looked better. His cardio looked better. I just do not know if that issue is still there, and that issue being is that he is a quitter. And I don't say that about a lot of guys, right? There's a lot of guys that just live to fight another day, and I get it. But I've seen this guy, his fight escape his body. And I shit thee not, if you go back and you rewatch, was it the Nasruddin fight? Was that before or after? Yeah, that was after Jack Hermanson. The Jack Hermanson fight was rough, right? Like, he had a good chance to win, but it is what it is. But the Nasruddin fight, Nasruddin takes him down. The striker takes him down. And I just saw the life escape out of Shabazz, and he's like, I'm done. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. And it's just a very subtle thing. If you go back and you see it, let me know if you see it. Yes, Fluffy isn't a guy that should be minus 315. It's just that his relentlessness is what is going to get him this win. And being that he breaks guys, he broke a guy like Marc-Andre Barrios, who's not known for breaking. What is there out there that says he can't break a guy who's known for breaking? I mean, Edmund can come out here, and not to say that he can't win. My biggest issue is that he's going to have to hurt Fluffy. And Fluffy, funny enough, has a very soft body. If you kick him right in the belly just right, I think you can crumble the guy. I think you can break Fluffy as well. Because if you hit him just right in the body, he'll be like, all right, I'm done. Because, he's got great cardio. It's just that, like, he leaves a lot of openings. Like, there's a comparison I make with Cain Velasquez, but Fluffy's a little too hittable. Fluffy's just a lot of pure wrestling. And Edmund's going to stuff a lot of takedowns in the first round. I think eventually he's not going to stuff him anymore because Fluffy's not going to let up. And eventually he's going to get taken down. He's going to get broken, and he will get broken. If he doesn't get broken here, dear God, the work that they have done with this boy at Extreme Couture is like Nobel Prize worthy, because if you somehow beat the pussy out of Edmund Shabazian where he doesn't quit anymore, and it's fantastic, right? Like, I don't want to see guys do that. And I made the excuse for Edmund in the past. Like, he wasn't training in the good camp. He was training out of fucking Glendale. And when you're not put in those situations where you're getting your ass beat, you don't know how to react. I'm hoping that he learns how to react in these situations now, right? And if he can stuff takedowns completely and then just put a lot of body work on Fluffy, you can get him out of there. And I like, what's his name? Kevin Holland proved it. Like, you hit him right in the body just right, he will crumble. And I think he's definitely live to win. It's just that if he doesn't get that knockout, Fluffy will take over and he will break him. So I'll go with Fluffy, third round submission. Main event, we've got Dern versus Angela Hill. I'm going with Angela Hill to lose in the third round. Dern's got power. Like, Angela Hill, I've always liked her. I like her output. Very good. But eventually she slows down, and eventually she'll give up a takedown, and eventually she'll tap out. Mackenzie Dern, for as good as she is on the mat, she's been struggling with certain girls to get the submissions on her. But I think Angela Hill's the right opponent. Angela Hill's not a girl like Marina Rodriguez, surprisingly, who gives up a ton of takedowns but doesn't get submitted, or Yan Jiaonan. Angela's been taken down. She's been submitted. I think it's a matter of time. Mackenzie's striking's awful, but she's got power in that right hand. Her wrestling needs to improve. If she's improved her wrestling here, I think she wins this fight in the later rounds. Like, Angela Hill has been 5 rounds. Both of these girls have. I just like what I've seen more from Mackenzie, where she goes after it and she can get good positions in the later rounds, where Angela will, in round number 4 or 5, be a little too tired because of the output that she throws. I'll go with it. Dern to win this one by a third round submission. I'm not betting it. I'm not interested in it. This entire card is kind of rough. I only got those 2 bets so far. I might play a little bit more. But yeah, those are my predictions for UFC Fight Night Dern versus Hill. Like, whatever, subscribe, comment. I'm hoping that I get all these technical issues figured out, and then I can actually proceed to have a decent, longer video. So, Johnny Tiger Bomb MMA. Catch you at the next fight.